Want to learn how to make this beautiful quilted spring applique jacket? Follow along and I'll show you how. I purchased this tamarack jacket pattern from the Green Studio and then added the extra collar to it. I love, love, love it. I also chose to make my own quilted fabric. Now you can skip this part and just buy an already quilted piece of fabric, or you can even go out and buy a quilt and cut it up. The choice is yours, but I'm going to take you step by step on how to make your own quilted fabric. The first step was to measure myself and then find the appropriate size on the pattern. The main reason I have this pictured here is I want to point out how I adjust my pattern sizes to fit. I cut according to the line there, and then I fold it over rather than cut down to my size. This way I can use it for other jackets down the road for other customers who might, be a bigger size or a smaller size. I can adjust the pattern accordingly. I cut a left and a right front panel, a back panel, and 2 sleeves. I also did the same with batting and my lining of the jacket. First, I covered my cutting table with an old bed sheet so that I wouldn't get the sticky spray on my table. I used the June Taylor basting spray. First, I laid my lining face down on the table there, and then I sprayed the back with the spray adhesive. Then I got my batting out and made sure that the bumpy side was facing the back side of the lining that I just sprayed. That is the wrong side of your batting, the bumpy side. And the way to remember that is hide your pimples, hide the bumps. So here I'm showing you how I'm laying the batting down on top of my lining. And I do it in halves so that I can smooth it across, almost like putting wallpaper on a wall. You want to make sure there's no creases, no bumps. And then I did the same. I sprayed the batting and I put my lining down. Or excuse me, not my lining, but my top, my cream-colored jacket piece, the outside of my jacket. And I folded it in half and laid it on top of the batting and smoothed it out. And this is called a quilt sandwich. So you have your lining, your batting, and then your main fabric on top. Next, here I'm showing you that I actually added some safety pins to hold it together as well. But as I made my other pieces, I didn't put the safety pins on because I noticed that the spray adhesive was enough. So I think you can skip the safety pins. Here I'm showing you my heat erasable pen that I use. I got out a piece of scrap fabric that I used for the outside of my jacket. And I always test my heat pens just to be sure on the piece of fabric that I'm using that it works. So I drew a line here, and then I got my iron nice and warm, and voila, it disappeared like magic. If you're interested in these heat erasable pens, I do have it in my Amazon storefront, so check it out. Now it's time to make the grid line on our fabric. So I found my center and then started drawing 1.5 inches across my pattern there. And I started with the right and then moved over to the left. And now I'm going to make my diagonals on the 45. Start in the center, work my way out to one side, and then I do the other side. And you'll see that pretty diamond shape. Then I take it over to my sewing machine and I make sure that my needle is in the center position and I'm using my walking foot. And my stitch length is a 2.5. So here I'm getting ready to sew, and I just take my time so that I can have a nice straight line, because this is what's going to show after you remove all those markings. So you want to make sure that you just take your time. I make sure I back stitch and then I go all the way down. And I do that on every single line. Now, does this take a lot of time? Oh, it sure does. But it is so worth it knowing that you made your own quilted fabric. It just gives you a sense of accomplishment. But if you're one of those who wants to make this in a quick hurry, like I said, you can always buy your own quilted fabric. You can get a quilt from a store, Goodwill, and cut it up. But I've done that in the past, and this time I wanted to make my own. So here are the vertical lines that I stitched, and here is the 45 degree angle lines. And here's the magic, taking that iron and erasing all the marks. And this is the pattern that remains. Now do this on all of your fabric pieces that you cut out. And so it's the right, left front piece, the back piece, the two sleeve pieces, and your collar. Now the creative fun begins. I went into my stash of fabrics and I pulled this out from a previous quilt that I made. And I decided that I wanted to do a rag style applique, a raw edge applique. And so I went into my stash once again and pulled out some old cardboard and cut up a petal, a flower petal out of it. And then I doubled up my fabric so that it would go quicker, and I laid the petal on the fabric, and I cut out 4 petals at a time, and it went real fast. So I have 4 petals out of the 4 different fabrics there, so a total of 16 petals. Now notice that they're not perfect by any means. They're kind of raggedy, but that's the whole purpose of this, to be not uniform and raw edge and very simple design. Here I'm showing you my test design. On the left, I had 4 petals together, and on the right, I had 2 petals when I cut them up. I actually like the right side better than the left. So I laid out my design here on the back of my jacket, and I've just safety pinned them on. Now, some people might use like heat and bond light on the back, but the main reason that I didn't is that I want a true raggedy type design. Now, if you're going for like a real fine applique where it's, you'll zigzag all your edges down, I would recommend heat and bond light to secure them to your fabrics. But the way I'm going to show you how I sewed them on and then cut them, this will make sense. So right now I'm just pinning. Now we're back at the sewing machine. I still have my stitch length the same, my needle position in the center, but this time I have my 1/4 inch foot with the guide, and I just used the guide there that you see on the right side of my foot on the edge of the applique piece, and I just slowly stitch along until I go all the way around. And this will give me a 1/4 inch raw edge all the way around that petal. Here are my petals sewn in, and I also made a bigger center circle. Next, it's time to clip our edges. So I worked my way around all of the petals and also my center of the flower. And this is what it looks like when it's all clipped. Now just imagine once you wash the jacket, how pretty that's going to end up. Here's the sleeve, and here's the front side of my jacket. Stay tuned for part 2 to see the jacket assembly. Please like and subscribe, and hope to see you in the next video.